I don't know if anybody's really talking about this, but I think one of the most dangerous forces in entrepreneurship isn't ignorance. It can be hope. And hope can be a double-edged sword or a slippery slope, because you want to be hopeful when you're going into business. You want to be positive. But hope applied incorrectly can create a fog that really keeps founders like us from seeing what's right in front of us. It can force us to ignore patterns. And hope can make us believe the best version of someone that we want to be true, rather than the version of who they really are. So today I'm going to show you why hope blinds founders and how to get clarity before you walk into a dangerous partnership. And why should you listen to me? Well, I'm Brad Burnett. I run a school group called the Alliance Academy that helps entrepreneurs and small business owners avoid $100,000 partnership mistakes. And these are the things that I wish I knew before a devastating business partnership decision. So hope fog happens when you really want the partnership to work. You like the person. Maybe they're a family friend or family member. You feel loyal to them or some sort of loyalty. You feel guilty if you start questioning things. You trust too easily. The fog of hope will happen if you don't want to seem paranoid or you want the opportunity to be real. And trusting too easily and not wanting to seem paranoid is how I made a big financial mistake in the business partnership, because I was fronting all the money. I was putting my name on everything as the guarantor, and I put my name on as the guarantor in the name of the business, which was critical. And by doing that, what ended up happening is I felt like I had to prove to this partner that I trusted them, that their past was their past. I trusted them to move forward, and this was their second chance, and I was giving it to them and all that. And not in a noble way, like, oh, I am the guy who gives second chances. That's not what I was doing, but I wanted to prove that I trusted them. So there was nothing around trust. Big mistake. Because I did that at 2 months in, gave them access to the bank accounts, gave them access to a credit card with the credit limit and the credit lines that I had signed on. And that was 2 months into the partnership. At 2.5 months after that, so 4.5 months total, imploded. Emptied the bank accounts, ran up the credit limits, everything in my name, and illegally removed me from the business. So all of that happened in a really short period of time. So thank goodness it wasn't years down the road when I found all this out. And it was only hundreds, more than $100,000 that I lost. And, all the other things that go along with that, we'll talk about another time. But not wanting to seem paranoid or proving that I needed to trust them actually ended up biting me in the butt, because I was hopeful, because it feels positive to be hopeful, but it also distorts reality. Hope is dangerous in partnerships sometimes because it will help us ignore red flags or soften boundaries, sometimes lower standards, delay uncomfortable questions, right? You feel like you got to walk on eggshells, so maybe you don't want to upset the partner. It oftentimes can create emotional attachment before clarity, which I think I was super guilty of. And it definitely made me rationalize instead of evaluate, right? I didn't use what I knew about business and data because they were a friend, and I was caring about a friendship and said silly things like, well, they would never screw me over. I'm different. My ego cost me a ton of money. Don't make that mistake. The hope is beautiful in life, right? Let's not take that out of context. But in partnerships, hope is oftentimes how we as founders get destroyed. Because the moment hope turns into self-betrayal, we're doomed, because it's a quiet shift. We stop gathering facts, right? You stop checking patterns. You stop asking for evidence and stop questioning inconsistencies. And you start defending them or making excuses for them or filling in their gaps. You're like, I'm gonna be fully committed, take extreme ownership, right? If you've read Jocko's book, and I will take ownership and I will lean in and I will do everything I can to provide for this partnership. And that was something I did. There was one comment where I felt like I had been grinding, right? I think it was like 14-hour days at the time. And I said something where I said, look, man, I'm busting my ass for this thing. And he replied with, you're doing what it takes to do the job. And I was like, oh, is that what you think is happening? Okay, well, I need to take some responsibility off your plate to prove that I'm really putting in the work for the business. And I literally did. I took responsibilities off his plate. I started just doing things to what I thought was move the partnership forward without asking, and there's so many mistakes I made because he was a friend. If you start wishing something was true, you're probably already headed down that slippery slope, right? Because it's the moment we start to lose objectivity. Now, there is a way to break out of the fog, right? First step, and this is a pretty safe pattern for many things, but to break out of this hope fog, name the emotion, right? Say it clearly. The emotion is, I want this to work. As soon as you name it, it weakens its control. And then you separate the person from the pattern. So don't evaluate friendship, charm, potential, charisma, vision, or personality. None of that stuff. How long you've known them, what they are in your life, lifelong friend, just met them, an acquaintance through the business, a family member, extended family. Don't evaluate any of that. Evaluate patterns, reliability, consistency, integrity, and follow through. The person can be great. The pattern can still be dangerous. And it's even more dangerous when they're super charismatic and we believe in that part of them more so than all of the patterns that are existing. A third step is run the evaluator. You can't argue with data, right? Go to the school group. I'll put the link in the description below. Do our free evaluator. That is an evaluator that gives you a score that immediately cuts through the fog, and it does it objectively instead of subjectively. So it'll at least give you a view. If you are honest when you answer, it'll give you immediate clarity. It takes 2.5, 3 minutes, depending on how quickly you read, to do it. 3 minutes of your life to get some real clarity. So in closing, guys, hope is beautiful. Hope without clarity is how we as founders get burned. So go to the school group, take the evaluator, get objective clarity, and protect your future. And always remember, clarity protects founders.